know that age is no barrier. It's a limitation you put on your mind. Aging is inevitable, but the decline in physical health doesn't have to be. As older adults, we possess a treasure trove of wisdom and experience. However, with that wisdom comes the need for prudence, especially when it comes to working out. I'm Psymon H, muscle after 50 coach and naturally jacked 54-year-old. And in this video, we're going to explore the common injuries older adults face, the mistakes leading to these injuries. And then I'm not going to leave it there. I'm going to provide you with 2 robust action plans. One for avoiding injuries and the other one is for training post-injury. Now, let's dive in and turn your fitness journey into a safe and rewarding adventure. Let's go. Now, let's start with some common injuries and vulnerable body parts. The first one is shoulder injury. Now, the common issues usually surround rotator cuff injuries, rotator cuff tears, and impingement syndrome. Why did this happen? Well, few reasons. Overuse, improper lifting techniques, and lack of flexibility. The second one is knee injuries. Common issues, osteoarthritis and meniscus tears. Now, why does this happen? High impact activities, poor alignment, and weak quadriceps. The next one is lower back injuries. Common issues, disc herniation, and lumbar strains. Now, why does this happen? Well, it could be down to poor posture or lifting too heavy a weight with improper form for too long. And then we have elbow injuries. Common issue, tennis elbow or golfer's elbow. Now, why does this happen? Well, it could be down to a repetitive strain or poor technique, lifting or gripping. And the last one is hip injuries. They usually get labral tears. Why does this happen? Well, it could be weak hip muscles, lack of flexibility, or improper movement patterns. Okay, so here are 5 mistakes leading to these injuries. Now, the first one is probably the most common, and that is skipping warm-ups and cooling down. Now, the mistake is you jump straight into an intense workout without preparing the body. Know what the fix is? The fix is do a 10-minute warm-up, use dynamic stretching or some light cardio, and then always finish your workout with an equal 10 minutes of static stretching. And then another one is using poor form. Yes, we're often using poor form while using too heavy a weight. Now, there's an easy fix for that. You have to prioritize your form over weight, especially if you're looking at longevity. Now, there's various ways you can do that. You can stand in front of a mirror and do your exercise so you can study your form, or better still, record a set so you can really study your form and make the necessary adjustments, or just ask for professional guidance. Now, I can't tell you how many men, especially of the older age group, fall foul of this, and that is ignoring pain. You often hear this mantra, especially with people that have been training for a while now, and they don't want to lose grip of what they've been doing, how the weights they've been using. You always hear this mantra, there's no pain, no gain. Well, the mistake is that we often find ourselves pushing through the discomfort and thinking it's all part of the process. When in actual fact, what we should be doing is listening to our bodies and getting really good at listening to the cues that our body is going to give us. And then figuring out that pain is a signal that often should tell us to stop and reassess what we are doing. Now, to be honest, if I was to line up all these mistakes in a foot race, it would be a very close finish, because their next mistake is a very common one too, and that is overtraining. The mistake is that we don't give our muscles enough time to recover. But the easiest fix is to incorporate rest days and vary your workouts to avoid repetitive strain. Our fifth misdemeanor is inadequate recovery strategies. The mistake is that we often neglect proper nutrition, but we've got our finger on the pulse saying, oh yes, I've got my nutrition and my sleep and my hydration all locked down, when in fact, it couldn't be further from the truth. Now, the easy fix is to ensure that you have a balanced diet rich in protein and stay hydrated. In fact, my next post will be about hydration, the stuff you did know and probably the stuff you should know. And next, we need to prioritize our sleep. I know I keep saying it, but these are fundamental mistakes that we often can make. And we often pay a bigger price for them the older we are. So let's get all of those parts in order. Now, before I bless you with our robust action plan number 1 for avoiding injuries, I want to ask you a serious question. Are you a subscriber? Now, if you just fell upon this video by accident, don't do that again, because you're more likely to miss stuff that will put you leagues ahead of the other guys trying to build muscle after 50. So do yourself a favor before anything else and press the subscribe button. And next, bless us with a like and hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I drop the good stuff. Now, let's get on to this action plan to avoid injuries. Now, the very first one is a very sensible and almost very obvious one that we can miss in our excitement to build muscle after 50. And that is, we have to warm up and cool down at the end of each session. Now, all it takes is 5 to 10 minutes. And what we could do is, you have choices. You can do a little bit of cardio, a little bit of warming up, a little bit of cycling, and do some dynamic stretches. Now, when it comes to the end of a workout, cool down with some static stretches. Now, in a few videos from now, I will show you what I do when I'm doing some dynamic warm-up stretches and what I do when I'm cooling down. That's your first one to avoid injury. Now, let's look for number 2, and that is perfect your form. Now, it's not about the weight and how much you lift. Save that for the ego hunters and the ones trying to impress the women or the younger bucks. Your form is essential. Nobody walks past you in the street and says, he benches 400 pounds, I can tell by his chest. No. If you're after longevity and you don't want to miss training sessions and you want to be injury-free, one of the best things you can do is to perfect your form. Start studying each and every exercise. Take it slow. Record some sets so you can study your form and perfect your form. Form should always come before the weight. Now, number 3, this will help you to avoid injuries, and that is use progressive overload safely. Now, what do I mean? Well, sometimes we can get really excited, we feel good, we've had our pre-workout and we're absolutely buzzing. So we do a quick warm up and then all of a sudden now we're hitting our top weight. And then, do you know, I feel really good today. I'm going to pull an extra 20 pounds each side. No, what we want to be doing is small, gradual increases. Why? Well, we're older. Let's take it a little bit slower. Let's do some sure steps, smaller increases. 1 week, it could be an increase in weight and it might only have to be 2 pounds. That is progressive overload. The next week, it could be as simple as adding 1 extra rep to your set, pushing that form and doing that extra rep. The next week, it could be increasing your range of motion. So if you was doing a bench press and you were stopping just here, you might think to yourself, I've warmed up really well, my shoulders are feeling good. I might just take that down just a little bit further and push that back up. That is progressive overload at its finest. And number 4, you should always listen to your body. Don't listen to everybody else. Listen to your body. Your body is in the know. It knows when it's not feeling good. It also knows when something is wrong. And it will be the first to let you know. But are you actually listening? That's the problem. Get used to listening to your body. Don't listen to the outside noise and get drawn in to doing things that you shouldn't be doing. But get used to listening to your body. Because after all, you've only got one. And the last thing is recovery is absolutely key. If you're going to the gym 5 times a week, 6 times a week, and you're not getting sufficient recovery, and you can start to feel your joints, tendons and ligaments start to ache, muscles start to feel sore to touch, these are sure signs that you are overtraining. Time to pull back. Time to man up and say, I need a rest day. Because after all, we're not growing in the gym. We're growing when we're relaxing and recovering. Now here's an action plan for training after an injury. God forbid that you have a serious injury and you have to take time off. But in the case that does happen, here are some action steps that you need to take. Now, the first one is to consult a professional. Use your physician or a physical therapist and get a tailor-made recovery plan. Now, the most important part of that is to follow the advice. So many people do half the job, and then when they get the sheet of advice, that goes out the window and they end up doing their own thing and paying a price by sitting longer on the sidelines with this ongoing pain. So remember, get professional advice. Now, number 2, and this one is something that you really have to talk to yourself about, and that is to use a gradual reintroduction to the gym. Start slow. Start at the beginning with low impact activities. But this all has to do with how severe your injury was. So if it was really severe, you're really going to have to fall back and take it one step at a time. Monitor your response and pay attention to how you feel and how your body reacts. Now, number 3 is strengthening and flexibility. We often forget about these parts in our, when we're really focused on building muscle after 50. But in fact, when you're talking about muscle after 50, we also really need to include mobility and flexibility. So we have to focus on these weak areas and strengthen muscles around the injury. And that really goes hand in hand with the first one about consulting a professional. Now, number 4, you have to modify your workouts. Now, nobody likes going backwards, especially if they were making progress before an injury happened. But in order to move forward, sometimes you have to move back to move forward. So these are one of the times that you have to do that. And one of the ways to do that is to modify your workout. So an idea of modifying your workout, you might be doing 3 exercises for a muscle group. Say it was shoulders that you injured, and you might be doing 3 or 4 exercises for shoulders. The very first thing you might want to be doing is knocking 3 of those exercises on the head and only focusing on a compound lift with the advice of your physician or physical therapist. Now, another one is to practice patience and persistence. Now, patience is a virtue. but it's also, when we're trying to recover, it's our best friend. Patience and persistence. When you're starting at the beginning and you're also remembering how things were before the injury, it's easy sometimes to get carried away, or it's easy to get disheartened and think that we have to put our foot on the gas and get on with it. But that sometimes is the worst mistake. We have to be able to take a step back and make sure that when we move forward, we're not moving forward in the direction of the same mistake. So sometimes we're going to have to be patient and take our time with our training, taking it one step at a time, lowering the volume, lowering the frequency, lowering the intensity until we get our bearings, until our muscles are telling us, listen, we've got a good base, good foundation. Now we can build upon that foundation and get stronger. So remember those 5 things. Consult a physician or your physical therapist. Number 2, gradually reintroduce yourself. Number 3, strengthening and flexibility. Number 4, modifying your workouts. And number 5, patience and persistence, my friend. So before I shoot off, let me leave you with this crumb of advice. Remember, it's not about how hard you train, it's about how smart you train. With the right approach, you can enjoy a safe and effective and injury-free fitness journey. So lace up your sneakers, warm up those muscles, and redefine what it means to be fit and building muscle after the big 5-0. Peace.